We have under 100 days to go before the election here. And right now, President Donald Trump trailing Joe Biden by a pretty significant margin, 9 points, according to the Real Clear Politics polling average. And maybe optimistically, there is still an opportunity for President Trump to gain some ground, perhaps by shifting some of his policies to a more majority position here in the U.S. And that's the focus of a new article here from Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman, digging into some of what some of those policy changes might be. And Rick, I mean, there are a few of them here where President Trump is in the minority when it comes to polling where Americans are at. What are some of those main issues that jump out to you?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking all about the coronavirus pandemic and the economy, obviously, but Trump is actually out of touch with majority opinion on a lot of issues, not just related to those. But let me just go through what we know from polls about the coronavirus pandemic. So we know Trump has dismissed this. He still actually says it'll disappear. But we've got 2/3 of Americans saying the coronavirus is a major risk to the health of the American public. 75% of Americans support wearing masks, including 58% of Republicans. Of course, Trump has only recently agreed to wear a mask. He chose not to do that for a long time. 60% of Americans say it's the federal government's job to take the lead on testing and make sure everybody has enough tests. Trump has put that off to the states. He doesn't want there to be a federal program on testing. And then on schools, about 75% of people say either schools should not reopen in the fall or they should reopen only with major changes to protect teachers and kids. But of course, Trump is just saying everybody needs to reopen the schools. So Trump, what he's doing is these are the issues that he thinks works with his famous base. But what he ends up doing is he ends up alienating, you know what I'm trying to say, Zach, alienating a lot of other voters. And I think that's part of the reason he's so far behind in the polls.
Yeah, and I mean that's what we're talking about. Normally, you see kind of candidates start to shift more to the middle ground after they appeal to their bases as you get close to the election, but not necessarily the case. And you raise even beyond some of those things, mail-in voting, something he's been pretty outspoken about, as well as his Twitter use. Surprisingly, to see come in there that some Americans say that he's using it too much on the same day that we saw his son, Donald Trump Jr. here, get his account shut down for 12 hours because he's tweeting misinformation here about hydroxychloroquine. So I guess those would be two other things to highlight here.
Yeah, Don Jr.'s in the penalty box for that. 65% of Americans support mail-in voting, and yet Trump is adamantly opposed to it. He says wrongly that it causes fraud. It doesn't cause fraud. 60% of Americans say Trump tweets too much. 59% say it harms his presidency, yet of course he's never going to stop. 56% of people say Trump should release his tax returns. He hasn't, and he's probably not going to. Just to go through the rest of my list here real quickly, Trump is also out of touch with majority opinion on immigration, climate change, and healthcare. I mean, he's still trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which now has scant majority support at around 51% of Americans saying they approve of the ACA. Trump is trying to repeal it. So he's trying to do things Americans don't really want him to do.
Yeah, and interesting to see here, too, kind of leaving that window open in the middle here for Joe Biden to maybe bring on some of those independents in kind of shifting to the right with some of his policies, though admittedly not all of them. But Rick Newman, appreciate you bringing us that.